Okay, everybody, I'm going to start. And this is Lynne Twist. I'm here in San Francisco at the Soul of Money Institute, also the city where the headquarters of Pachamama Alliance is. And I know many of you are familiar with both of those wonderful initiatives and organizations. And I want to just welcome every single person here and let you know that our Zoom friends that all of us are relying on so much now cannot accommodate more people than you who happen to have made it on this webinar. So there's several hundred people trying to get on and we're at capacity. So we apologize for that. We tried to upgrade to make this available to hundreds of people, maybe even 1,000 people. And we did upgrade, but Zoom is not able to handle that right now. So I just want to start by saying gratitude to Zoom and forgiveness to the people who can't get on, and congratulations to those of you who did. So we're going to start now, and thank you for being on this webinar, Navigating These Challenging Times. And I'm Lynne Twist, and I'm joined here by my colleague, my friend, my sister in all things, Sara Vetter, and she's going to co-navigate our webinar on navigating, and I'm going to turn it over to her right now, as she's involved with Pachamama Alliance, the Soul of Money Institute, and all the things that we do together, which I know inspire many of you. So, Sara.
Great, thank you, Lynn, and thank you everybody who is on here today. And I'm looking to see people are from all over, Australia, Ireland, all parts of the United States. I mean, it's really so fun to see the names scrolling up. So thank you for that. We will be together for 90 minutes and we will have interactive experience and complete by 1 o'clock Pacific time. So if you can stay with us, great. And of course, we will be recording this and will be available as well. A quick briefing technology. There's really one mode, it's speaker mode. And when Lynn is speaking or I'm speaking, it will just be us on the screen. And that's all you need to know. And later when we do a sharing, I'll show you how to do the raise your hand. So in the meantime, all the participants will be muted, except for when you have an opportunity to raise your hand later in our time together. So now I'm going to ask Zach to please put up the purpose of this webinar. Okay, it's coming. Okay, the purpose of our time together is to empower you, the participants, to navigate these times courageously and responsibly from the context of sufficiency, integrity, and generosity. I'm just going to say it one more time. To empower you, the participants, to navigate these times courageously and responsibly from the context of sufficiency, integrity, and generosity. Okay, thank you.
Let me now start with a meditation. And for those of you, I guess nobody's driving. I was thinking for those of you who are driving, but who would be driving? Nobody, I think, I hope. So wherever you are in your home, what's often called in shelter, or wherever you find yourself right now, some of you in what's called self-isolation, maybe with other people, but self-isolating, please drop into your space, your body, your physicality, and just scan your body for the moment from the top of your head all the way down your face, neck, your back, your shoulders, your arms, your midsection, down through your legs, your thighs, your calves, knees and calves, and down your ankles, all the way to your feet. And if your feet are on the ground or on the floor, just feel the support of gravity that keeps us close to our mother. We're in a situation of intense gravity a grave situation, but there's also the gravity of the mother who's holding us close to her. That's what gravity really is in many ways. And now as you focus on your breath, realize the exquisite experience of knowing that your lungs, unless you are sick right now, are clear and free, and is that window to the breath of the world. And as you breathe in and breathe out, breathe in the interconnectivity that we all now more deeply and more profoundly than maybe ever in our lives. And breathe out any loneliness or isolation that's inappropriate. Breathe in the blessing of the internet, of Zoom, of cell phones, of technology that keeps us connected. Breathe out any fear, any worry, any concern, any franticness about what's going on. Breathe in the profound experience of love, of kindness, of generosity that you feel around you. And breathe out worry, fear of the future, blame, finger pointing, lack of responsibility. And I'll be silent for 10 seconds while we take the time that's been given to us now, the gift of time, to be in the presence of hundreds of people online in this webinar right now. Okay, take a deep breath and let's see if we can do that somehow together. And then let it out with a sigh and open your eyes and smile at your screen. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm already feeling the magnitude of the collective power of this particular little Saturday gathering on March 21st. Let me say that I love it that we're doing this on the equinox, you know, the equipoise, the time when day and night are equal for everybody on Earth. I love it that we're having this at the beginning of spring. I love it that we're doing this on what we call the weekend. So the end of probably one of the most challenging and historic and epic weeks, the end of the most historic and epic week maybe of any of our lives. Who can remember before last Saturday and Sunday? Who can remember what was important to us on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd that we thought was so critical? So now we're present, perhaps, as never before. Perhaps now we're in communion with each other and in self-isolation, a paradox that perhaps we have never experienced before. And as I give my gratitude to those people who make it possible for us to be together online, I also want to ask that we send our love and our gratitude and our intention and our grace to the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the health workers, the police, the firemen, the people who are running grocery stores, are working overtime. The people who are at the gas stations, for those of us who do need to get out and about. The food system that's continuing to deliver food. All the infrastructure that must stay in place for life to go on, but has been simplified down to only the bare necessities. And to begin to discover and understand, maybe for the first time, but maybe in a very, very, very long time, what really matters, what we really need to live. Not all the frivolousness or the extras or the fluff or the overconsumption or the more than we need, but what we really need to live a simple and fulfilling and healthy life. My heart goes out to people who are ill, maybe who are on this call, I don't know, but who are related to you, who are ill, people who've lost loved ones and lives that are in the balance. Our hearts go out to the homeless, the marginalized, people who are not just alone, but lonely. The word alone comes from all one. That's the etymology of that word. So in our aloneness, you can feel the all oneness. That's quite, alone is quite different from lonely. People who are isolated, who don't have internet, who don't have neighbors who are thinking about them, who may not have cell phones. I'm thinking some of the most elderly people on our planet and in our society. Also, include in your compassion and concern people who are homeless, who don't have a shelter to be sheltered in. I invite you to think about the most marginalized, the millions of refugees who are stuck somewhere, which is not their home, and people who are incarcerated. The millions, unfortunately, people, particularly in the United States, who are incarcerated, who are living, who live the way some of us are now being forced to live, but with much less of the amenities we had all the time and can never leave. And I invite us to not in any way step over the gravity of the situation we're facing as a human community. At the same time, the fact that we're facing it together, all of us at the same time, the homeless and the ultra wealthy, the people of enormous power and choice who normally have that, and the people who have very little choice and very little power, where there's a great equalizer now, a great leveler that perhaps many of us have thought was coming in some way through legislation or through a new person in charge of our different countries or through activism, but it's been brought to us in ways we didn't expect, and it might be a shock. So I want to say that the context of this webinar is from the Soul of Money Institute, which I'm the creator of and the CEO of and the founder of, and that Sara is the business development director of, who you just saw, and also the Pachamama Alliance. And so just to revisit, for those of you who know and for those of you who don't know, the purpose of the Soul of Money Institute, so that that's the context of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to ask Zachary Twist to put on the screen the purpose of the Soul of Money Institute. Oh, this is the purpose of this webinar. I forgot about that, but Sara already said that. So this is the purpose of the Soul of Money Institute, for those of you who can see it on the screen, to create a context of sufficiency, responsibility, and integrity for individuals and organizations in their relationship with money and life, and to move from an economy and culture of fear, consumption, and scarcity to an economy and culture of love, sustainability, and generosity. I'm going to say it again. The purpose of the Soul of Money Institute is to create a context of sufficiency, responsibility, and integrity for individuals and organizations in their relationship with money and life, and to move from an economy and culture of fear, consumption, and scarcity to an economy and culture of love, sustainability, and generosity. Thank you, Zach. So that's the context of our work and the context of this webinar. And that was written long before there was a pandemic, because I've known, and I think we've all known, that for a long, long time, the mythology of scarcity, that there's not enough to go around, that we need to hoard, that we need to accumulate, that we need to overconsume to make sure that those of us who consider ours, or the people we're responsible, have way more than they need because there might not be enough, is a mythology that's created the horrendous problems we have in the world today. And that there's an opportunity, has always been there, this opportunity, possibility, but now particularly present with the pandemic, to begin to realize that there's a way of living that's called sufficient. And we're going to talk about that in a little while. Sufficiency, that having to know exactly what you need and know that you're always provided with that. And then another context for this Zoom session is the Pachamama Alliance. The word Pachamama means Mother Earth, and the Pachamama Alliance is an alliance between the indigenous people of the sacred headwaters of the Amazon rainforest and conscious committed people in the modern world for the sustainability of life. The mission of Pachamama's Alliance's educational programs is a beautiful mission, and I want to have that on the screen now and read that to you, please. So Zach, can you put up, oh, there it is. Okay. That's the mission of Soul of Money. And now here's the mission of the programs of the Pachamama Alliance: to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on this planet. I'll say it again: to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on this planet. And that mission, thanks, Zach. That mission, I say, if we can make that the guiding principle of this reset, of this reimagining life that can come out of this pandemic, that mission is a mission that we can live into. So let me go now into quoting some of the great Indigenous leaders and teachers and shamans and beloveds that are part of this world, that are now communicating in a way that can nourish us and heal us from the fear that we feel around this pandemic. And I'm going to start with Archon Lushwala, a Peruvian healer, a great teacher, a ceremonialist, who's also been trained by the Lakota Sioux. Archon says, in a deep primordial part of ourselves, many of us have been waiting for something like this to happen. Something powerful and sacred had to intervene in order to stop the destruction of the source of life. That powerful and sacred intervention is coming from the earth herself. Viruses are made by the earth. And now, as humanity, we are forced to make the sacrifices we couldn't make from our own will. Unfortunately and painfully, now the sacrifices go beyond letting go of our own comfort and the habits, the bad habits that led us to an excessive consumption of goods, not only basic ones, but the ones that we consume in massive excess for mere pleasure and entertainment. Unfortunately, now there is also a sacrifice of human lives. With deep compassion for those who are suffering the loss of a loved one or experiencing fear while laying in a hospital bed, one has to say that the earth is still being kind and gentle, that her way of defending herself could be much, much worse. And that's how mothers are with their children. Our mother must be suffering more than anyone while she is scolding us, reshaping us for not having changed when we could have, when there was still time for us to do it on our own. At the same time, Pachamama, Mother Earth, wouldn't be doing what she's doing right now unless there was time for us still to change, to transform, to listen to her teaching. The capacity that nature has to regenerate is extraordinary, extremely powerful, and in some cases, surprisingly fast. But we have to listen. The earth is telling us that that moment is now, not later, not someday, but now. This is not the new normal. This is the new now. She wants us to act. She wants us to act now. She wants us to know there is time, but the time is now. It's a time to understand with deep compassion that what she is doing in order to keep life alive, instead of falling into the illusion that the enemy is trying to destroy us, we need to listen to her. We need to hear her. We need to love her. Another great teacher is Zach Bush, who's a beautiful, beautiful scientist, who says that the COVID-19 seems merciful in the sparing of children and younger adults. But we should be saddened by the loss of our elders in a Western culture that has long forgotten to see, respect, and give a close ear to the elders who've been speaking to us for a long time. This is a respiratory virus, a virus about the breath of life. And we can learn from it. It can reveal the source of all the chronic disease epidemics that are a threat to our species. When we separate ourselves from nature and destroy our diverse ecosystems, nature's system of checks and balances kicks in big time. And that's what's happening now. So I want to just invite us to, my friend Sara has said, this is such a profound time. You know, it's scary, yes. It's confronting, yes. It's difficult, yes. We're separated from each other, yes. We're isolated, yes. The news is filled with fear and horrible projections, yes. At the same time, I feel a tsunami of connectivity. I feel a profound understanding of our place in the universe being reset, recreated, reimagined. I feel an enormous feeling of compassion. I listened to a wonderful interview with Jane Goodall on CNN. You know, some people call CNN the critical news network because there's so much criticism coming over all the media. But this interview was with Jane Goodall. Another one was with Deepak Chopra last night. I would call these networks now are starting to become compassionate. They're starting to share nourishing news. They're starting to share, in addition to the scary news about the virus, how we can stay calm. And I so welcome the profound shift that could begin to happen with the media, the profound shift that could be happening with our relationship with one another, the profound shift that could be happening in our relationship with other species. You know, the source of this virus, some say, the concentration of glyphosate, the toxic chemicals that go into the soil, the highest concentration on Earth has been right around Wuhan, China. Another theory is that the highest concentration of the new 5G network has been around Wuhan, China. Other people say, Jane Goodall said, the highest concentration of wet markets, which is wild animal meat being sold or exploited for human consumption, has been around Wuhan, China. I don't know if any of that is the source of this virus, but all of those things are our hubris as a species, encroaching onto the habitat of wild animals so much that we're exploiting them, and they carry viruses that are not harmful to them, but would be harmful to us and are. This mania about toxifying our soils to have them produce all kinds of genetically modified foods, we all know it's wrong. But now this virus may be coming from that aberrant behavior. The clamoring to have more technology faster, more frantic than ever before, even though we're grateful for the technology right now. The 5G network, some people say that's going to be dangerous to human life and all species. Who knows what the source of this is? All I can say is the virus is a teacher. The virus is a mirroring back to us. The virus is an opportunity to self-reset. The virus is an opportunity to self-correct. The virus is an opportunity to go deep into who we are, to go into our inner life rather than our outer life for answers, to go into our inner wisdom rather than the outer shiny objects, to find our way. And I invite each of you to imagine now being in 2050. Just imagine now being in the year 2050 and looking back on what may come to be called the most important decade in human history, 2020 to 2030. And standing in 2050, we look back on 2020, the first year of that critical turning tide decade when humanity received vision, a clear vision of the future, 2020 vision of the future, through a virus that disrupted everything and gave us an opportunity to re-see, respect, respectate. That's what respect comes from. Re-look, reimagine, redesign, recreate life post-pandemic. And that decade from 2020 to 2030 was the decade of the Sustainable Development Goals being realized by not just the United Nations, but by the whole world. You could say that that was the decade where violence started to decrease, not only in society, but in the media. And what people cared about was not the economy as much as the ecology, not as much their ego, but their eco-life. You could say that that decade, way back there, 2020 to 2030, was the decade when the stock market, the casino of the stock market collapsed, and we recreated an economy that served everyone. And that's the economy we have today in 2050. That we redesigned education and made it available to every single living human being for free. That we redesigned health care so that everybody had the opportunity to have a healthy and productive life. That the borders started to dissolve. That was the decade, do you remember it, when everything totally transformed and we came to our senses as a human community. I invite you to look back on that time and realize that that was the time when we made the big changes that we couldn't make by ourselves, but the earth, our mother, shook us. She changed us. She transformed us. She disrupted us. So it was our time to really make those changes. So I'm going to also invite you to do a couple other things. Look and see if this time that we're living in is the opportunity to break addictions. It's a quarantine of consumption. What are the habits, the addictions that you have now that you can feel are no longer appropriate? That's an opportunity. When you wake up in the morning, what are the things you're normally kind of addicted to that aren't healthy for you that you can't do now? Here's an opportunity to break those addictions. This is an opportunity to replace them with best practices, a kind of mental hygiene, Deepak Chopra says. Yes, wash your hands. Yes, be vigilant about social distancing. Yes, disinfect things. Yes, use wipes on everything, but also do a kind of mental hygiene. This is an opportunity for that. And then it's an opportunity to financially, where you can find more resources is by spending less. That's the best way to find more financial resources. All of us have stopped consuming, have lowered our expenses, have lowered our travel, have lowered our capacity and our capacity, I guess, our ability to go out and spend frivolously and do things that are inappropriate and aren't good for us anyway. So I'm going to put up this in a moment, what I call the principle of sufficiency. And this is the kind of message of the Soul of Money Institute. And this is a beautiful principle for the times we're living in. It couldn't be better. I'm sorry when I close my eyes when I'm talking to you, but that's how I get what I'm about to say next. It's on the back of my eyelids. And I want to say that the context for living now could be said to be the context not of abundance and excess and more than you need, but sufficiency, exactly what you need and nothing more. Not taking more than you need from the grocery store, not hoarding toilet paper, but taking what you need and leaving the rest for other people. To be someone who lives in the exquisite distinction of enough, the exquisite distinction of sufficient resources, the exquisite experience of being met by the universe with simply and only what you need, and the freedom that that gives us, the opportunity to be in the now rather than the future and the past, the opportunity to be present with each other and with ourselves. So there's a principle that we use at the Soul of Money Institute that I'd like you to have up on the screen. It's called the principle of sufficiency. And it says this: when you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, which is what we're scrambling to get more of, it frees up oceans of energy to turn and make a difference with what you already have. When you make a difference with what you already have, it expands. So let me say that again. When you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, which is what we're brainwashed to want more of, it frees up oceans of energy to turn and pay attention to what you already have. When you make a difference with what you already have, when you nourish what you already have, it expands before your very eyes. Another way of saying that, which is a little shorter and a little easier to remember, is what you appreciate appreciates. What you appreciate appreciates. So I invite you to appreciate the extra time, the time at home, the lack of travel, the lack of franticness. I invite you to appreciate the people you care about. Send messages of love, acknowledgement, forgiveness to people. I invite you to appreciate the services that are being provided for us that haven't been interrupted. I invite you to thank them and give gratitude to those people, the postmen, the grocery store people, the garbage pickup people. I invite you to really notice and appreciate in a profound way that which is given to us to make our lives really nourished and workable. So those are some of the things that I wanted to share. I, like all of you, am receiving beautiful things on the web, poems, webinars like this one, opportunities of great wisdom teachers to be more present for us than ever before. And I'm drawing from everything I can and invite you to do that too. So I'm going to turn this over now to Sara Vetter, who's going to give you a chance to communicate, to share, to be in relation with each other and with us. So take it over, Sara.
Okay, so the new now for me is technology savvy. Yes, we're going to ask you to share, and I will call on you, or our technical person on this call will call on you, but one of us will call on you. And we're going to do this in a way, you know, there's so much collective wisdom happening right now. I mean, tremendous. And I love this new now and different ways of re-seeing this crisis that's happening, the gift of the crisis, the gift of the virus. I'm just going to say one quick thing for me. I'm just in such observation of the world and then myself, and this profound thing that Lynne talked about. I realize why I get fatigued, because of the emotions are so extreme, from creative and innovative to worried and concerned, and it's such a back and forth. But if you stay open to it, it can be a really beautiful thing. So what I'm going to do is Zach is going to put on the screen 2 questions, and we're going to ask you to really reflect on one of these questions. Hold on a second, it's coming. What are you inspired by in this new now? And or what are you doing to stay calm and collected yourself? Hold on, that's coming up. I'll say them again. What are you inspired by in this new now? And what are you doing to stay calm and collected? Please raise your hand if you have that capability on the right hand. If you click on participants, if you could raise your hand, and John will call on you. Okay, and John, if you could text me if you're not seeing hands. Okay, well, I'm going to call on.
I called on Lanny.
Oh,
Lanny Heath.
Okay.
You're on.
okay. As a coincidental incident in my life, I started taking art classes, and I bought art materials. And in this time of sheltering in place, I've been creating art. We've also brought out our yoga tapes, Barbara Benoit, and practicing at home. We had been going to yoga 3 times a week. Now we're doing it at home every day. And I've also brought out my meditation CDs. And again, I've been reminded that we're here as a collective soul in the earth for us to exemplify our highest selves. And perhaps it's like Noah and the flood. We are going through this time period now to come out as a collective soul and understanding the principle of Pachamama. Having been in Ecuador, I understand that the earth wants us to come out as a better collective soul. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to have John call on the next person. That was just great. Thank you, Lainey. And I meant to say, if you could keep it to 30 seconds or less, because we'd like to get hear as many voices as possible this time. So the next person, John, who are you calling?
Tatanka Brika.
Okay, great.
Are you there, Tatanka?
Okay, maybe we'll try something.
I'm sorry. I've just unmuted.
Okay.
So,
great.
thank you. What am I inspired by in this new now? Well, the commitments I already have to Pachamama Alliance, to Romero Institute, and to the Dolores Huerta Foundation, I have found by what I can do to stay calm and connected. One, I'm fasting every Friday. I know it's good for me. That saves an additional amount of money, which allows me to give more money to each of these organizations, along with our travel. And last night we had a webinar with Danny Sheehan, and he also talked, there was much overlap with what you were sharing, Lynn and Sara, and also saying that this time right now of crisis, and then I'll finish, is just the beginning, and it can prepare us for what we need to do in California to create a California Green New Deal, that this can be done very quickly as we learn from this one and how we can change quickly. So thank you. Thank you for showing up.
Great, thank you. And thank you so much for that. And I would like to ask the next person that shares if you could say your name and then where you're from, because it's so wonderful to know where people are calling from. Okay, John, who's next?
Terry Moon.
Hello. I'm calling from Sonoma County, California. And I'm being inspired by my vegetable garden. I just typed this into the chat, but I'm also really inspired by an email I received last night, which is the divestment from fossil fuels movement, which is kind of aligning with the public banking movement and reestablishing a new economy. And it's shared amazing guidelines and collaborative abilities that have already happened, and sharing that information with others. It's really inspired me.
Great, thank you, Terry. It's beautiful.
Chris Mathias.
Chris.
Unmute yourself. Oh,
There we go. There we go. Hi, you guys. This is Chris Mathias calling from Southern Baja, our little refugee camp down here with people choosing to be here. Two things quickly came to mind. Some of you know I work with a group of young people, 18 to 22. One of them wrote me an extraordinary letter saying that for the first time in my life, I'm awakening with a feeling of optimism that I've never had before because I feel like I'm living a life of consequence.
Wow.
Wow. 20 years old. I finally feel like I'm living a life of consequence. And personally, where I'm at is I feel like I am part of laying the foundation for a future I will not see. And that is not frightening. That is exciting. Thanks.
Oh, Chris, you're always, I know, Chris, you always say just the right thing. You're so, that was beautiful and perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, who's next, John?
Lori Peer.
Hi there. Great to be on the call. What I am inspired by is how my firm of about 600 people who sort of have been going about their business in silos have come together this past week in a way that is remarkable and inspiring. And that's through platforms like Zoom and having video calls and meetings and chats and happy hours and all those things. And what I am doing to stay calm and connected is I am so grateful for the meditation practice that I've put into place these past few years. So grateful to have that. And so just don't know where I would be without that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to add something really quick. You know, I've been Zooming forever, for a long time, conference calls, and I used to, I hate to admit this, but multitask while I Zoomed, sometimes with my cell phone or occasionally. But now I'm finding I'm so eager for the connection, for the real connection, that I'm looking into the Zoom, I'm looking into the eyes of the person on the screen, or if it's multiple people. So to me, Zoom is like a new, it's like a completely different platform now, and I see it so differently. So, and I can feel it. I can actually feel the connection now when we're Zooming. So I love that you said that, Lori. Thank you so much. Okay, next.
Leanne Thompson.
Thank you. I'm an elected county commissioner. I live in Cove Beach, Oregon. We've been in a tsunami zone for years, so we know that bad things can happen to our physical bodies. So to stay calm and connected, when I took the Pachamama Symposium, I realized, oh, more spirituality. So I got baptized as an Episcopalian, having been a pagan for most of my life, and I'm now on the board of trustees. So what I look at is to remember that the physical form, sorry, I've got bells ringing. The physical form is all going to end for all of us at some point. Nobody gets out alive. What we can do is focus on the joy and satisfaction of the interval between now and then. We can look for our connection with the divine, the transcendent, with each other, and to our higher purpose. And that helps me stay calm and connected.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Lynne. The chime was perfect timing. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. John, next.
Kimberly Sherwood.
Oh,
Hello, friends. How are you? I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Well, I am deeply inspired by just even reframing to the new now. I've been resistant to the new normal. And so thank you, Lynn, for that profound reframe. As per the usual, you rock. What I am doing to stay calm and connected, our family, which is all over the United States, has developed what we're calling the COVID reading club. And every other day, another person, whether a young person or an older person like my mom, chooses something to read and shares a personal story. It's only 20 minutes long, and I'm just finding it truly transformative in terms of the relationships with my family.
oh, beautiful. Thank you, Kimberly.
Lori Freed.
Hi, I'm calling from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I am inspired by reflecting on how much we've been preparing for this. To me, it's something that I don't think any one of us were conscious of, but the preparation has been incredible when you really stop and think about it. What I'm doing to stay calm, I am a yoga teacher and I'm doing my yoga practice at home, and I just did my first Zoom class online yesterday, and it keeps me calm to know that my students can connect to that important practice in some way. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Who's next?
Vivian Partridge.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I am inspired by my own feelings this week of just a deep appreciation that I get to be a being privileged to be in this time and space. And I find deep comfort in myself in being able to choose my beliefs, and I do believe this is the gentlest of calls from the universe for us to remember our interconnectivity. And I'm just experiencing more moments of real presence when I have this awareness that I have everything I need in this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment. Thank you for your beautiful inspiration this morning.
Welcome. Thank you for this moment. Okay, who's next? These are so inspiring and filling me up right now. So I want to just thank everybody, but let's keep going.
Dewey Lim.
Aloha, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I am super inspired right now by the activation that we all are a part of. And I've been particularly inspired by the work of my beloved Brian D. Ridgway. He did a live the other day on dissolving the global fear paradigm, or global fear pandemic, as he called it. So really just taking this time to use whatever's coming up emotionally, whether it's anger, sadness, or fear, to feel into that and know that this is all happening for me. And I'm really grateful that I already had this perspective and chose this. I choose this every day to see that. And I'm also starting to gather online, doing sister circle masterminds with the women in my community, Visionary Sisterhood. And I'm also working on a document that will be open to anyone who has online gatherings, whether they're free by donation or paid, that are focused on connection. So just using this as an opportunity to further unite and connect with our fellow humanity and brothers and sisters. And I'm so happy to be here. I love you all.
Oh, great. And where are you from, Dewey?
I live in Kona, Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Great. Thank you so much. Beautiful.
Alana Leah.
Thank you. I'm calling from Los Angeles, where I'm sheltering at the home of friends. And I'm particularly inspired by my daughter, who lives in Hong Kong. And
Oops. Hold on. You're remuted.
Where did she go?
There.
there.
You're back.
Okay, great. I'm calling in from Los Angeles, and I wanted to share the inspiration I received from my daughter, who lives in Hong Kong. So she's been going through this for several months now. And she's married to an airline pilot whose routes are in and out of China. So this has been very vivid in my experience for the last few months as we communicated, and I felt most inspired to help her stay calm and grounded and develop a meditation practice. Well, now she has become an influencer in her own right, creating a post on Facebook, giving people a glimpse into the future, saying, this is what it's like now in Hong Kong. Calm down and be grateful. And she shared this beautiful gratitude practice that's just about gone viral. So I am so incredibly grateful to witness that change that is reverberating through her generation of millennials. And also my work is working with a very young dynamic team of forest engineers in Brazil, where we've been doing reforestation for the last 10 years. And as they just came back to Brazil, which is now really a hot mess from being overseas, I'm able to share with them what I've learned with my daughter, what we practice here in community, to help them stay calm and grounded so that they're going to use the 10,000 trees we were about to distribute all over the countryside to start their agroforestry training school, and just relax into that and not feel frantic. So I feel incredibly blessed and grateful right now.
Wow. Thank you so much. What an amazing share. And is she still there? Where is she now? Where's your daughter?
You mean my daughter?
Yes.
Yes, she's in Hong Kong. They live there.
Yeah.
So, you know, their incomes have taken a major hit, and but they have just found the best of life in having more time to be with each other and to go for long walks at night, where in nature, she's developed an appreciation of nature that's much deeper than anything I've seen in her since she was a little girl. And they've learned how to take care of themselves, and you know, her quality of life in many ways has improved. And you know, they just can't pick up and go. And he's not of the same nationality; he's South African. So they're there, you know, and they're going to be there. So I've learned how to stay calm, having my daughter be so far away, and so grateful for WhatsApp to keep us connected the way we are.
Wow, you're a beautiful mom for her and role model. So thank you so much. Beautiful share. Thank you, Alana.
Thank you, Sarah.
Robin Jacobs.
Hi, I'm Robin from Baltimore, Maryland. And first of all, I'm really inspired by this webinar. I've been part of the drawdown movement here and doing some classes. And now I'm interested in doing the game changers, even more interested now that I've heard this talk. And what I'm also inspired by is I work with Community Solar for Neighborhood Sun, and I'm working with a group of high schoolers who have a lot of time right now, and they're really inspired to share Community Solar, which is one of, I think it's number 7 in the top 100 solutions. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is I have time now to work on teaching nonviolent communication to parents and people, and we'll work on developing that online. So I'm excited to have that nudge to do that, which has been on the back burner and what I've been thinking about for a while.
Great. Thank you. And where are you from, Robin? Did you say that?
Yeah, I said Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore. Okay, great. Thank you. And
Thanks.
yay, doing the Game Changer Intensive and the drawdown with Patram Alliance. Yay.
Yay.
Okay, who is next?
Ann Randerson.
Hi, I'm Ann Randerson from San Diego, California, and I teach at a university in San Marcos, and I'm inspired by my students especially. They're very courageous right now. We've had to put all our classes remotely. The whole university is closed down just, for precautionary measures. And my students are not complaining. They are just being very courageous. And those that have to go back to their countries, because a lot of them are foreign, have to go back. And they're just going back and they're dealing with it. And it just really warms my heart. Our faculty members, our librarians, our deans, and IT specialists, they've been working around the clock to make this as comfortable as possible. And yet it's not been comfortable for any of us, especially if we're not used to online teaching. So these students, I think they are inspiring me more. I'm about to cry. They're just inspiring me so much, and it's so hard for them. They want to graduate, and it's so unexpected, and it's just amazing and beautiful. So thank you for allowing us to have this platform to speak.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for sharing that about your students. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
I think we're out of hands.
Oh.
Sorry, Randy Salim.
Okay, you'll be our final hand raiser speaker.
Hi, this is actually Amanda from Amanda and Randy.
Amanda,
hi. So, and I'm honored to say the last thing because I've been sitting here. I cry like Lynn. And what are you doing to stay calm and connected? And just being in nature, just that is the saving grace. And just the exquisite sufficiency of seeing Pachamama and being with her and being in that presence. And so thank you.
Okay, I know Amanda, she always makes me cry. Now you're making me cry. Oh my gosh. Well, we have time for a few more shares if there are any other hands up. John, are there other hands up?
Yes. Lori Marshall.
Amanda.
Unmute yourself, Lori.
Hello.
Oops.
One of the.
There we go. Where are you from, Lori? We couldn't hear you for the first second. Now we can hear
I'm
you.
sorry. I'm from Novato, California.
Great.
And I am taking on a beautiful challenge to make a chalk art on my sidewalk in front of my house. And I'm drawing my grandson, and I'm writing, as we mobilize against the virus, let's mobilize for Mother Earth. And I'm drawing my grandson who's in El Paso, Texas, who I can't hold right now. And so I'm just using art to send messages of positivity. And I work with Project Drawdown and high school students, and making big collaborative murals that are based on trees that share the top solutions from Drawdown.
Wow. Beautiful. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Lori. Okay, now we'll do one last share, and then I'll hand it back over to Lynn. So who will be
Linda Lombardo.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm on Long Island, New York. And I'm looking in the chat, and someone said, let's all go forest bathing. I happen to be a certified forest therapy guide. So that was an arrow to my heart. And although we've consciously curtailed all public walks for now, what I'm doing to stay calm and connected is I am sharing as many virtual walks as I can. taking my photography and putting them together in slideshows and playing my Native American flute and just putting it out everywhere, even on LinkedIn. I'm hoping anybody who's still working in an office may just pick it up and spend five or 6 minutes being with nature, even if they can't get out in it. And I've been taking photos around my yard, simply noticing the bulbs coming up. And I'm stalking a daffodil right now that every day I take a new picture and I share it, and watching it just beginning to bloom. And there, you know, the simple little things are the things we often walk by, and there is such magic in those things that that's what inspires me, and it's also what I'm doing to stay calm and connected.
Wow, thank you, Linda. Well, that was absolutely beautiful, and there's so many things I could say, but I'm first going to hand it back over to you, Lynne.
Okay.
Share some reflections on those beautiful, wonderful shares.
Yeah, oh my God. I actually want to just underline what Sara said. There is a collective wisdom coming through all beings. The virus is part of our collective wisdom. Each one of us is carrying collective wisdom. We're open and still and listening like we haven't as a culture for so long, maybe ever. I had a wonderful conversation with my friend Randy McNamara, and this is for I think Lori. If you want to, when you Zoom with your grandkids, this is just a little thing I just wanted to tell you. He told me, get a pillow. So I got a pillow here. And look at your granddaughter or grandson and just say, oh, I love you so much. I love you so much. And hug the pillow and look in the screen. And it totally works for me, because one of the things I miss is my little ones, my little grandkids. So just a little tip there. Also, I want to say that Amanda said this and Linda said this. It's really, really a time where the pulp of the natural world, the beauty, forest bathing, going out, and even if you can just go on your balcony, or I don't know what the restrictions are for you. I live right next to the Presidio, which is this magnificent forest. And I know that I am much more open to those messages that come from those trees, from the shrubs, from the rocks, from the soil than I've ever been in my life. And as most of you know, we work, Sara and I, and my husband Bill, in the Amazon rainforest. This breaking open, this disruption of our frantic thoughts and minds and planning and executing stuff has us quiet enough to hear Mother speaking to us, to hear each other, to hear other species, to hear the community of life. And that's what so many of you talked about: gardening, painting, forest bathing. It's really, really a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to slow down. I mean, it's just gorgeous, glorious. And there's so much good news. And I think it's really important. I'm going to go on to say some closing thoughts. We'll probably end this a little early and give you more time. And hopefully at the end of this webinar, I'm going to tell you to watch a video and then go outside. But let me just say first that we have remarkable good news coming across the web if you look for it. There's the Good News Network. Even CNN has a whole thing you can sign up for, getting good news once a week. The Critical News Network, I call it sometimes, is really putting out some beautiful stuff, as is Fox, as is all the networks. And if you Google, for example, the Greater Good Science Center or the Good News Network or the Optimist Daily, I highly recommend that you look for a conversation that empowers you. And, you know, we say in all of our courses that we don't actually live in our lives as much as we think we do, or we don't live in the circumstances as much as we think we do. We don't live in the world as much as we think we do. We live in the conversation we have about our lives. We live in the conversation we have about our community, our homes, our circumstances. We live in the conversation we have about our world. And that conversation is malleable. It can be a conversation that's cranky and grumbly and angry and negative, or it can be a conversation that's supportive and empowering and uplifting and inspiring. And you and I have our hands on the levers and dials of the conversation we live in. You can watch violent movies on Netflix, or you can watch movies that inspire you or touch your heart. It's up to you to generate and seek the conversations that will empower you now, and to be regenerating your experience of life from what nourishes you, from what gives you capacity to be a even more profoundly impacted human being by this virus in a good way. And I invite you to really look for those conversations and then proliferate them. You know, we have gotten so violent in the media and so negative in our entertainment choices. We can shift that now. This is a time when we can. So I'm going to tell you some wonderful things, some good news to pass on. I think you know 80,000 people who were sick from the COVID-19 virus in China are recovering. 70% of them are fully recovered, and the rest of them will be fully recovered. Doctors in India, France, and the United Nations have been successfully treating COVID-19 with a combination of anti-malarial and other drugs, and putting aside all the protocols, they're starting to have some real success. Apple has reopened all 42 of its stores in China, which were closed like everything else. Scientists in China have figured out how COVID-19 breaks into human cells from wherever it's coming from, and that's critical information for treatments, and a vaccine will soon be coming. Cleveland Medical Center, other places in Israel and in Washington, D.C. are getting very close to a vaccine, and trials are already underway in Seattle. Distilleries that used to be making, you know, vodka and gin are now making hand sanitizers and giving away for free. In South Korea, the recoveries are way outnumbering new cases of infection by 3 to 1. There's a Japanese flu drug that's showing to be very effective. Air pollution has plummeted all over the world, and we can see, I think you've heard this by now, over China, 100 million metric tons of carbon emissions have been prevented from entering the atmosphere, and the skies have cleared over China. That's the equivalent of what Chile produces in a year. The Chinese medical teams are now going to Italy and Spain with equipment, with respirators, with masks, because they're complete with a lot of the needs that are happening in China. In fact, there were 14 temporary hospitals in the center of the virus crisis, and 13 have been closed down, and the 14th will be closed down on Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't even begin to talk about the acts of kindness that are all over the web, that are taking place in real life, but are also all over the web. And I really invite you to pass on both the teaching of the virus and what it's generating in a goodwill virus among humanity. Love has gone viral. Generosity has gone viral. Connection has gone viral. Realizing how off course we are has gone viral, and how to reset, regenerate, recreate, renew life has gone viral. And so we feel that this family of people on this phone call and the human family and the community of life is at a place of deep and profound committed listening, that where we can receive the powerful messages that are coming from each other, coming from that garden that you're planting, coming from those trees that you're forest bathing with, coming from this beautiful mycelium that is the internet, and keep fostering and fomenting conversations that empower us. That doesn't mean step over the gravity of the situation. No, it means keeping people centered, calm, and particularly yourself doing the mental hygiene that's necessary now for this time in history. So there's so much good news. I saw this beautiful picture of Venice where the waters are clear, and I've been told by things I've seen in photographs that you can see the fish in the canals in Venice, and people haven't seen them actually in decades. And as wonderful Otto Scharmer says, the last few weeks of this virus of COVID-19 has produced more changes and more work to reverse global warming and clear up our environmental disasters than decades and decades of work by environmental activists like me. So thank God for the virus. Thank God for the teaching. Thank God for Mother Nature kicking in. The Earth's immune system is the virus, and it's medicine. It's devastating in many ways. Sometimes medicine is painful, and it's also probably the birthing pains of a new way of being, a new life, a new future for not only humanity but all of life. So I'm going to ask Sara to make a little announcement about how to stay connected with us and our messages. Sara?
Yes, and I need to add one super important thing. And that is, I mean, some of us live alone, some are in apartments, some are, I mean, everyone has a different situation, but don't forget laughter, and don't forget dancing, and don't forget just crank on the music and start dancing. Lynn and I were on like 8 Zoom calls the other day, and we're just like, okay, dance break. And we cranked on the music and dancing around. And I created something called Zoom Tales, not cocktails, but Zoom Tales. So at the end of the day, you can Zoom with your friend and have a cocktail. So it's a Zoom Tale. So even in the crisis and everything going on that is so deep and heavy, if you can pull in some laughter and movement and dance and, I highly recommend it. That's my recommendation. So I'll say that. And so, yes, you are now part of the Soul of Money Institute family, everybody that has signed on to this beautiful webinar. And of course, it will be recorded. It may take a few days. The Zoom is quite overloaded right now, but we will get that to you. And I'm saying this, and Lynn doesn't know this, but I think we'll do another one of these. So Lynn, I'll just tell you that in front of everybody. We're going to do another one of these.
I agree.
So, okay, so we can get all 900 people that registered on to this webinar and even have more insights and teachings and hear from you. So this has been a huge honor for me to be a part of this. I just love hearing everybody share. I love being here with you. I feel connected just by hearing the stories. So I'm so grateful. And now I'll hand it back over to Lynn to do a close.
I'm going to do a close and then a request. It's kind of like in-home homework. So first I want to I'm going to read a quote by Hazrat Inayat Khan that's very meaningful to me, and I think very appropriate for now. And then I'm going to ask you to, just a moment before you put that on the screen, Zach, then I'm going to ask you all to take the extra time that we had for this this wonderful webinar and watch a video that came from Italy, which is 4 minutes long. And we're going to put a link up on the chat room. And if you could copy it somehow, I don't know how to do tech stuff, but if you can copy it and then put it in your browser and take the 4 minutes after we're done here and watch it after this webinar. I really, really, really would like to invite you to do that.
And Lynn, just to add, it'll also be in our Wednesday Wisdom. We'll put the link, we'll send everybody the link as well. So just wanted to
yeah, so you're now part of our Wednesday Wisdom, whether you want to be or not. And next Wednesday, we'll put the link in there. That's right. Thanks, Sara. So I'm going to ask Zach to put up on the screen a beautiful quote from Hazrat Inayat Khan, a brilliant Sufi teacher, and I'll read it. I asked for strength, and God gave me difficulties to make me strong. I asked for wisdom, and God gave me problems to learn to solve. I asked for prosperity, and God gave me a brain and brawn to work. I asked for courage, and God gave me dangers to overcome. I asked for love, and God gave me people to help. I asked for favors, and God gave me opportunities. I received nothing I wanted. I received everything I needed. Thank you, Zach. So let me just say, we have everything we need. I know there are people who are needy, but I'm just going to say the people on this webinar, we have everything we need. We're simplifying our lives. We're telling the truth about who we are. We're connecting deeply and profoundly to our inner life, to our inner compass, and we're on a trajectory of the transformation of life on this planet. Thank you for your attention, your time, and your love. Now take the next 4 minutes and watch this beautiful video from Italy. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to open the lines, or I'll ask, I guess, John or Zach to open the line so everybody can say goodbye, if possible, if we can hear you. It's always so cool to do that at the end. So
Everyone's unmuted.
everybody, okay, you can say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
I think they're unmuted.
Oh, we want to hear people. Can't hear you, but goodbye.
Wow.
We love you.